I live in Portland, Oregon, and was on an Uber Eats delivery just like any other. I've done thousands at this point. It was for Baskin-Robbins and the customer was only a couple miles away in a fancy apartment building. Everything seems normal. I pick up the order, I go to my car, and start heading to the apartment building. On the way there, I get a text that said, "Hey, thanks for getting my order. Could you just come inside and leave it on my table? Because I recently got home from the hospital and can't bend down at the door to get it." It was a little odd. I've never been asked to come inside someone's place before. But without thinking about it too much, I texted back saying, "Sure thing, I'll be there soon." I get another text saying my apartment building is unlocked. I'll be 10 feet inside waiting. Right after reading that text, I got a chill. Because who the hell says I'll be 10 feet inside the apartment to the delivery guy? I get to the building and it was one of those fancy ones with the keypad entry. I was told in the app to look for Zachary Winstrom, but wasn't able to find it. I was only able to find Zachary Warner. That name was also the one for the right apartment number, 220. I called the unit on the keypad and someone picked up but didn't let me in. It was kind of weird. Most of the time people are eager to get their food so they let you in quickly. The fact that the name didn't match the order was kind of alarming too, because who misspells or gives a wrong last name, especially when you need to look them up on a keypad? The unit 220 that made the alleged Uber order isn't letting me in the building, even after I called and texted them on the app. Someone opened the door to the building and let me in. I was getting ready just to cancel the order and walk away. I walked into the building and was greeted with the usual fancy apartment lobby crap. A nice calming floral scent that isn't too strong, the elegant lighting, marble and wood everywhere, and the complimentary tea-coffee station. I go inside the elevator and go up to the second floor. I immediately get a call from an unknown number when I step out the elevator. I let it ring a little before answering. I pick it up and it sounds like a distorted and angry male voice. Can't make out what the man was trying to say, but the man hung up on me after about a few seconds. I get to the unit, which is cracked open just as the prophecy foretold. I knock first and get no answer. I crack the door a little more and yelled, "I have your Uber order." I still hear nothing. It's absolutely silent in the apartment. My hair is standing on my back at this point. I look around the hallway outside the unit and see no one. I open the door entirely and see an extremely dark apartment. I could just barely make out silhouettes of furniture and pictures on the wall. I shine my phone light in there and see a shadow of someone. They were behind the wall that borders the kitchen, which was to the immediate left of you as you entered the apartment. I dropped the order at the door, which spilled all over, and ran out of the building. The shadow could have been a mannequin or a man. I didn't stick around long enough to find out. I'm 6 foot tall and was about 185. I also had a large knife and powerful taser on me, but I still wasn't going to risk it. Thinking back, the shadow was roughly 10 feet inside the apartment. I called Uber to report the crazy incident and they deactivated his account. I keep thinking about who the person on the phone was and what was their intention. Was the person inside a killer? Also, what's with the apartment not having the guy's name, but a similar name to it? This was the scariest delivery I've ever been on. It was midnight. I suddenly got a craving for some fried octopus, so I ordered some. I ended up ordering a few more dishes to qualify for a discount code. Just figured I'd microwave them later and wouldn't have to worry about what to eat for another day or two. The food I ordered seemed to be for 3 or 4 people, but I actually lived alone. And all the food were the type frat boys here normally get at a gathering, along with alcohol. In short, just looking at the order, one would think I was a dude hanging out with his mates, though I never thought about this. Until the delivery guy arrived and called me, His first word was a surprise. "Oh," before he said the usual stuff, "Your order is here." My house has a metal folding door in front of the front door. And I don't know why, but I suddenly got a chill, so I opened the front door but kept the metal door locked. I told the guy to just put the food right in front of the door, but he told me the food would get dirty. It was in a bag and the order was already paid. Normally people would just put it there and go. I told him no problem, just leave it there, and he did. But he also didn't leave, just stood right there, trying to look inside the house. I froze for a second and wasn't sure what to do. Then he started asking, "Is she having a party?" "What?" "The food, it's too much." I didn't answer, so he continued. "It's too quiet." "Excuse me?" "Your party is too quiet. Where are your friends?" I was still holding my phone in my hand, so I pointed at him and pretended to tap something on the screen and told him, "I'm filming you." Immediately he got back on his motorcycle and left without a word. I was too freaked out to tap correctly, and didn't actually open the camera app, but at least I managed to make him leave. Now I have a bunch of food and no appetite. For the last 2 semesters I've ordered Uber Eats a lot, especially towards the end of the day. One night I was craving some Burger King, and I hadn't really eaten lunch or dinner that day, so I was really hungry for anything. And the fridge in my dorm was empty. I went ahead and placed an order and waited. And waited. I waited until it got to around 11 PM, when the order said it was finally on its way. This is where it gets weird. I checked the profile of the guy that was taking it to me, and he'd only done a handful of orders before this, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Now, I'd noticed after a couple of minutes that he stopped on a road near my college, and he opened the chat to message me. He said, "Your food is cold. I'm about 1.5 miles from the nearest Burger King. Which one did you order from? What street and what number?" I replied, "It's fine, just bring it to me." He asked, "What did you order?" "I'm gonna go get it right now." I replied, "Just bring what you have, it's fine. You're not that far away." He then said, "I don't have the food, I have to get it." I was very confused because he just told me the food was cold, and he never said he never got it, and was asking for my location multiple times. I kept telling him all the order information should still be there, just to use that. I didn't think to cancel the order or report this because it was late and I was starving. I just wanted to eat. After waiting a bit longer to see if he would keep his word and go back to get me my food, I was shocked to see that he continued going to my dorm. Once he got there, I stepped outside to see him pull up in his car. To summarize, he told me he had bad news and that he didn't have my food, but he had something else for me. This was when my instinct kicked in, and I got my keycard ready to go back inside, since all outside doors in my dorm building automatically lock. He would go to his car and pull out a plastic box of chicken, and said it was mine to have. I declined and started to go back inside, and he would continue to make remarks about how he knows how I'm feeling, and he was hungry in college too, all while walking towards me. I was having none of it, and I told him that I'd be cancelling the order and getting my money back. Ever since then, I've never ordered Uber Eats late at night, and I can only imagine what his true intentions were. I went to college in Florida. After graduating, the first thing on my mind was getting out of there, so I made plans to move across the country and start a new life. I was a 23-year-old female at the time, with all the options in the world. Everything was in order. I quit my job and a friend of mine agreed to take over my lease. I'd been living alone in a townhouse since my previous roommate graduated, so my friend moved into the other bedroom while I was preparing to move out. About a week later at 10 PM, the two of us were watching TV, when there was a knock at the door. My friend got up to answer. He came back with a bag of food from a sandwich delivery place, assuming I'd ordered it. I hadn't. We thought maybe it had been delivered to the wrong address, but there was my name and address on the receipt. The phone number on the receipt, however, was unfamiliar. I called the number and someone answered, but they never spoke. I could only hear the ambient sounds of a room and breathing. I searched for the phone number and it appeared to be through an app. I convinced myself this was some kind of prank or misunderstanding. A few nights later, another knock at the door. My friend insisted on answering again, and I heard him telling a delivery person that this was a mistake. She doesn't live here anymore. No one ordered food to this address. The driver responded that they'd taken the order themselves over the phone, and spoken to a man who simply asked for the specials and ordered the first one. It was the same number on the receipt. I called again, and again, and I heard someone listening on the other end. The deliveries kept coming every few nights. My move was delayed for unrelated reasons, and the longer I stayed, the more it began to really scare me. Why would someone do this? One time I called the number after another delivery, with my friend sitting next to me. The stranger picked up the phone as usual, but this time we heard a faint voice. She definitely still lives here. Then abrupt silence. I didn't recognize the person speaking, but I realized I shouldn't have been calling from my own number. I never called again. My friend tried, but the person on the other end never spoke aside from that one time. Eventually, most of the deliveries stopped, but someone continued harassing us for months in various ways. That phone number began calling at all hours of the day and night, sometimes 30 calls in a row. They usually called my phone, but called my friend sometimes as well. If we answered, they'd immediately hang up and call again. I began getting random friend requests on every social media, with messages such as, "Don't you remember meeting at the party last night?" when I hadn't even left my house in a week. Most disturbingly, someone also started throwing eggs at the townhouse, which suggested the stalker was local and knew where I lived. Maybe he was watching every time a delivery was dropped off. Maybe he was watching other times too. The only thing I ever learned was that he knew I hadn't moved. By this point I was staying inside as much as possible, but you have to leave the house sometimes. I was terrified until I finally moved and blocked the number. My friend elected not to take over my lease, but I was always thankful he stayed with me those last couple months. This was about 8 years ago now, and I still don't have the faintest idea who it could have been. My former co-workers and a few college friends knew I was moving, but I couldn't think of anyone who would have a reason to keep track of whether I moved. I didn't recognize their voice the one time I heard it. To this day, I refuse to answer unknown phone numbers or unexpected knocks at the door. Even contactless delivery gives me anxiety. I'm always half expecting them to show up again.